Hello, Twinkle Toes. Remember me? Fat Hat won't have much use for you looking like that. Say hello to Peachy.
Y'all couldn't help yourselves, could ya? You just had to pull a True Colors 2.0 and leak the episode weeks in advance. Hello everyone, it's me, your average bonehead, Jay. So after narrowly avoiding the minefield of leaks for the past 2.5 weeks, we finally got the official release of the second part of the Owl House's 3-part finale, For the Future. Once again, another banger episode that knocks it out of the park. Though I do have a few minor grievances with this episode, but we'll get to them when we get to them. But for now, kick back into the pool of trauma and let's enjoy For the Future! So our episode begins the same way Thanks to Them began, kicking off where King's Tide left off, with King sacrificing himself to be the best friend of Enzo Gabriel, and using his powers to make sure that Luz, Amity, Willow, Gus, and Hunter get through the portal to the human realm. However, now we get to see what happened on the other side of the portal door once it closed. After being destroyed, King is immediately pulled up to Enzo Gabriel, as remember, he promised to be his best friend, as Enzo is ecstatic to finally be free after all these years, as he wants to do nothing more but play and play all day. And yes, I do intend to call the collector Enzo Gabriel through the rest of this review, because it's funny. King describes playing Owl House as basically LARPing, but we also get to see how protective Enzo is of the people he claims are his friends. As when Lilith and Hootie try to confront him, Enzo immediately turns them into dolls.
They're not hurt, they're safe and sound in our new house. Now, what part do I get to play?
As now it's time for the game Owl House to begin. So as the intro plays out, it shows us what went down that day. As Ida turned into her harpy mode, while Rain thirsted for that, don't blame them, to try and save her son, as Enzo spread his magic across the boiling isles, causing anyone caught in his rays to be turned into one of his dolls. But unfortunately for Ida, while on her way to rescue King, her curse starts to take over, and with no potions to neutralize the effect, she is then taken over by it, as she also becomes prisoner to Enzo Gabriel.
You look fun. Wanna play?
Once we cut back to Luz, we see that she's in the space between spaces as she sees something that won't get explained this episode before she's pulled back into the demon realm.
Luz, you were in there for so long, we thought you got stuck behind. Are you hurt anywhere?
So due to Philip having a head start, he's long gone by now. As Luz, Amity, Willow, Gus, Hunter, and Camilla make their way as they reacquaint themselves with the ways of the Boiling Isles. And also, that's just evil. That's just brutally heartless to do to us. With Hunter hating that as much as we did, Gus thanks Willow for always looking out for them, which begins to kickstart her downward spiral because I guess Dana was just handing those out with gift baskets. Luckily, we do get another adorable Lumity moment, so all is forgiven. But it's a moot point because Luz still tragically believes that she has to go back home once this is all over in order to keep the ones she loves safe. But at the same time, the others get to see just how changed their home has become. Because, as I called, Enzo had converted most of the Boiling Isles to be his new playground. We cut to Philip, who is looking for a body, as since he is running out of magic, he can barely hold his together. But we also see that he's seeing his brother, Caleb. Now, whether that's Caleb's actual ghost or just Philip's mind playing tricks on him, it does show us that he's starting to see the consequences of his dark deeds. Though, it's not like Philip cares, as he still believes that what he did was right. And remember, Philip killed Caleb because Caleb fell in love with a witch. Back with Luz and the others, they finally arrive at the Owl House, which I'm only realizing now we actually haven't seen for a good few episodes. With the last time we saw it, it got ransacked by Coven Scouts. So, right now, the house is completely empty. Camilla asks Willow and Gus what she should do with Luz, while making sure not to tell them what Luz's plan is, as the palismen follow a restless Hunter around. Camilla then privately asks Willow if she's okay, to which Willow lies.
It's not good if you try to hold it all in.
I'm fine, really.
Meanwhile, upstairs, Amity tells Luz that the only way a palisman will form is if the user admits their innermost heart's desire of what they want in their life. and only then will a palisman take its true form for them.
Doing one always seems to mess up the other. Why did this get so complicated? You just gotta be patient.
But Amity also knows that the reason why Luce is upstairs is because she misses Ida, King, and Hooty, and she vows that she will get them back, no matter how long it takes. Just then, Hunter sees Ida and King. They quickly follow the shooting star they were on to the town of Bonesboro, where Camilla gets to try flying for the first time, and gets a bit more acquainted with the weirdness of the demon realm.
I mean, hello, good sir?
Once they hide, they see that everyone in town has been turned into dolls, including one of Willow's dads, who she tries to save, but to no avail as the owl beast attacks. But then, Enzo, Gabriel, and King arrive to save all the dolls. As it turns out, this is just part of the game they're playing.
I'm here to stop this beast's mad rampage!
I believe in you, Collector.
Thanks, best friend!
And it also turns out that the owl beast isn't even Ida. It's Terra. Of course she survived. And it's right here where we get one of many scenes with Enzo in this episode, where we really get a lot of answers and even more questions about him. But right now we find out that he really is just a kid who wants to play all day, and doesn't like it when his game is interrupted. Because once Terra makes him mad, we see what happens to people who crash his game, and make fun of his friends.
You're not being very nice right now. Wait!
As King tries to cheer him up, Enzo suggests that maybe they get the real Owl Lady to play the Owl Beast. But King tells him that her curse would still be in effect, but he'll go check for him, as they head back to their castle, taking all the dolls with them. But then Luce and the others are found by Matt, Scara, and damn it, I forgot the dog's name, as they are taken to Hexside. Once they get there, we see that the place has become a lawless mess ever since Enzo's spies had taken away all the teachers. But luckily, they still honored Principal Bump in the best way possible, and Amity even gets to reunite with her siblings, as we learn that Edric was born with glass bones and paper skin. Now, if you're wondering why the school is such a chaotic, lawless mess, well, that's because the person in charge is...
Good point, Mickey. Next!
God damn it. Yeah, Basha's in charge. Now, if you remember way back to my Wing It Like Witches review, which has my most outdated claim in it, you'll know that I don't like Basha. I do like what she represents, though. I always saw her as a twisted mirror reflection to Amity. As Amity got nicer and nicer, and more open, she became a main character. While when Basha doubled down with her nastiness and closed herself off, she lost relevance to the series. And Basha in this episode is meant to be the pinnacle of this arc, as she is now 100% a villain throughout it. And it does make sense to do it here, as we later see Basha basically beg Amity to be her friend again, but Amity refuses because that's not who she is anymore, showing that Basha really does not deserve friendship if she refuses to change. Which you could guess could foreshadow something that Enzo will have to learn later on. So with that all being great, I just don't like Basha as a character. To me, she's just an annoying brat that doesn't get any of my sympathy, which is saying a lot considering the other villains in this show. But the reason why I feel like this is more of a problem in this episode rather than any others that featured her is because it leads to my one nitpick. Because Basha's in charge and doesn't like our heroes, she locks them in the school, and at that point it immediately becomes clear that we're gonna be stuck at Hexside for the remainder of the episode. Yeah, unlike Thanks to Them, this episode really meanders when it comes to progressing the overall story. And while we do get minor plot progression, the episode really makes up for it with the character development, which we will get to later. So yeah, bottom line, Basha still sucks, and it makes my skin crawl that at one point people legitimately thought her and Willow would make a good couple. Also, if you're wondering why Basha hasn't been overthrown, it's because she's being defended by this totally original character named Miki. Meanwhile, with Philip, he finally reaches the place where he grew Grimwalkers, as he possesses one for a new body.
You were the chosen one!
Meanwhile, with Enzo and King, they arrive back at their castle as we see, of course she survived. Luckily, Odalia is suffering, as she has to be the mother to Enzo.
Pizza! Bagels!
So Enzo and King decide to go to bed, and Enzo asks if King can read him a story, which happens to be a book that explains the history of the collectors. To paraphrase, the book states that collectors go from planet to planet collecting all types of living creatures to preserve them in their collection for all eternity. However, it also states that if anyone dares to interfere, they will eradicate the planet. Though it's here where we get some interesting insight to Enzo's character, because he altered the final part of the paragraph to reflect how all he wants to do is play, have fun, make friends, and just be a kid. Because yeah, Enzo is a kid. A very scary, powerful god kid, but still a kid. And it shows that there is a good chance of redemption for him, because he doesn't want to be like other collectors. Granted, he still needs to learn what he's doing is wrong and that he can't control people, but other than that, I think there's a chance that they could save this kid. It's obvious he's already starting to go down that path. He just needs a bit more help. Now, some people say this contradicts how he was behaving in Hollow Mind, but to be fair, in that episode, he and Philip were talking about Grim Walkers. And to Enzo, those are easily replaceable. He doesn't understand they're still people too. And on a quick side note, a little personal theory I have, I don't think this collector is Enzo. So once Enzo goes to sleep, King leaves the room and manages to get the doll of Hootie and brings him to Ida, who isn't trapped in her beast form, but would constantly sneak out of her cage to see Rain, who they, much like the other Coven heads, has been turned into a doll. Ida and King manage to sneak out and reunite with Lilith, who was turned back to normal by Enzo by King's request, showing that he is willing to do things for the ones he cares about. And Lilith manages to get Hootie sentient again, even though he's still trapped in his doll form. But they all state that they will find a way to stop Enzo. And I'm just gonna get the rest of Philip's scenes out of the way before we get back to the main plot. So the Grim Walker does not work and only gives Philip a temporary boost, so he heads up to Enzo's castle and possesses the doll of Rain. For 5 minutes. Could you not possess a character?
For 5 minutes!
And after successfully lying to Enzo, he manages to convince him that King does not want to be his friend and is going to backstab him, as Enzo ends up misunderstanding parts of King's conversation with Ida and Lilith, not realizing that King wants to talk to him to try and save him. But now, unfortunately, Enzo is once again fallen prey to Philip's manipulations. Now, finally back at Hexside, while hiding from Basha and Original the character, they have to go through Luce's memories to find a special spell that will teleport them directly to the Titan's head where Enzo's castle is. And while this is happening, we actually learn that Matt is a competent leader. I was not expecting that. But hey, at least it's nice to see that he's a good person despite his ego. It's good that one of the bully characters is willing to change. Then Willow, trying to make Hunter feel better, reminds him of Flapjack. Unfortunately, this only makes him feel worse, and then she runs off, going further and further down the spiral. Gus then tells Hunter that he knew he was a Grimwalker this whole time, and then he goes after Willow, with Hunter following behind. Basha continues to be horrible, as Willow finally lets her have it. Good for her. Unfortunately, it was a trap. Then Luce, Amity, Camilla, and Matt are confronted by Original the character, who turns out to be Kikimora.
Long time no see, human.
Kikimora.
They're thrown into the detention pit as Kikimora tries to finish them off herself. As Luce and Camilla try to take on Kikimora together,
Don't think you've won just yet.
Kiki Miki!
we get the strange one-off pairing of Amity and Matt working together for once, as they are confronted by Basha, who is begging Amity to come back and be her friend again. And honestly, I gotta hand it to Matt. He does a really good job of helping Amity and fighting Basha back. But in the end, Amity states that she could never be Basha's friend again, but they could still work together one more time to save everyone. And this honestly does bring up to one interesting parallel between Basha and Enzo. You see, at this current moment in time, they're both at a state where, as much as they want friends, they don't deserve them, because they don't understand what true friendship actually means. And I'm guessing that Enzo's arc is actually going to end with him realizing that if he wants true friends, he can't be so controlling of them. And this scene with Basha is foreshadowing that. So congratulations, Basha, you're not entirely horrendous. Meanwhile, with Gus and Hunter, the two of them run into Willow, who is cracking.
Hello?
scratch that, she's completely shattered at this point. Because as it turns out, the expectations of her needing to be basically the leader of the group who holds them all together has made her to believe that she can't show any weaknesses, and has left her without anyone to help her with what she's going through. And in a way, you can kinda see this downward spiral of Willow since the beginning. If you all remember correctly, Willow's episodes are always about someone looking down at her, and her having to prove herself, and show that she is not, well, half a witch Willow, as well as showing that the constant insults towards her never get to her. However, they do. Willow's need to prove to everyone that she is not weak both physically and emotionally has led to her bottling everything up inside of her and not letting a single inch of what she considers to be that weakness come out. Now add on top of that she feels like she has to be there for all of her friends to help them with any of their emotional problems and that hers don't matter, she finally caves. Throughout this scene, we see that she feels completely alone in having to fill this role of moral support for them, as she continuously says that she has to fix everything. She must fix everything.
I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this.
She must keep her friends safe, as her vines spread around, suffocating them, and even herself, so she can feel that no one she cares about could ever get hurt again, because it's all up to her. It is definitely very hard to watch.
I can't help my friends. Why have I been trying to be someone different? Bosh is right. I'll always just be half a witch Willow.
Luckily though, Hunter and Gus are both able to tell Willow what she really means to them, and that it's okay for her to be scared because they promise they'll be there for her. And she finally opens up.
I miss my dads.
And honestly, if you still think Willow's a bad, bland, or even boring character after all this, then I'm sorry, there's no known cure for stupidity. So, how is Hunter able to do this and basically confess his feelings to Willow, you may ask? Simple, with the power of Flapjack.
The magic of friendship?
No, the magic of Flapjack.
Yep, since Flapjack is now a part of him, that means he can tap into Flapjack's magic at any given time, which is very similar to how Philip is able to tap into magic due to all the talisman inside of him, as seen in Hollow Mine, which I called it. But I love this because it still shows Flapjack is doing his job. He's still there with Hunter, guiding him, so he can help the people that he cares about. And I'm so glad that most people can agree that this is actually nice, poetic, and a good development for Hunter. Oh, come on. Really? Really, people? Really? Ableist. Are you daft? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like I just said, Flapjack is still there. He's still fulfilling his purpose as a guide for Hunter. He's just inside of him. Hunter never had these powers at any point. It's only because Flapjack is there. That's why he has them. It's not like he tapped into them secretly. No, Flapjack is still the one giving him magic. It's no different if he was still holding him as a staff. But then again, that would imply that Hunter was ever meant to be a metaphor for disabilities, which he isn't. Guys, remember, Hunter's not a witch. He is a clone of a human, and they naturally don't have magic. But oh, boo-hoo, my one headcanon in this show of many didn't come true. This show is offensive and doesn't want to be progressive, even though it has the most representation this side of Steven Universe. Oh, woe is me. I hate this show now. Wah, wah, wah. God, I hate Twitter. Anyways, time to use Twitter. But then we get my favorite scene of the episode, as Luce and Camilla manage to escape Shrieky Flora, and manage to hide for a bit. Luce then once again blames herself for all the bad things that have been happening, and still has plans to permanently leave the Demon Realm once this is all over. To which Camilla immediately then speedruns Animated Mother of the Year award, as she tells Luce that failure is natural, but you should not hold yourself down because of it, as she tells Luce some of her biggest failures, some of which are very tragic.
We should move to Gravesfield to be closer to that fancy hospital. You know how that ended.
But then Camilla reveals the other ways that she can relate to Luce, as she finally reveals that she's a nerd too, as she recites a motto from the books that she secretly reads.
To love and protect each other just as they are, through supernovas and solar winds.
And in the end, Camilla reveals that the biggest mistake she ever made was that she tried to change who Luce was. And it's at that moment Luce both discovers and gets exactly what she always wanted.
The only thing I've ever really wanted was to be understood.
And that allows her Palisman egg to finally hatch. And good thing too, because Creaky Dora is on her way. They reunite with Hunter, Willow, and Gus, who had just finished getting through their problems, as they all take on SS Cat Dora.
I missed a lot!
Then the Hexside students join the fight, now led by Matt, as Amity reunites with Luce and the others, and the Hexside students manage to stall Legend of Korra, as Luce uses the special glyph to teleport her, Camilla, Amity, Willow, Gus, and Hunter to the head of the Titan, right under Enzo's castle.
We made it!
Amity and Willow celebrate actually making it, Gus and Hunter celebrate being nerds with Camilla, and Luce's Palisman finally takes form, revealing herself to be a snake shifter that Luce named Stringbean.
She's a snake shifter. Her name is Stringbean, and she's perfect!
Pero mira qué preciosos mis bebés. Ven, ven.
Oh, and Winter's canon now, no biggie. So while things are finally now looking up for our main protagonists, at least when it comes to their mental states, there's still some that are looking down, namely Enzo Gabriel, who's still unknowingly under the influence of Philip, is not happy that Luce's return, as he believes that she is here to steal away his best friend. So the episode ominously ends with Enzo saying that he wants to play a new game.
I think I want to play a new game.
And the episode ends on that note. And once again, the credits show pictures that all would have made for great episodes, but we can't have nice things. Holy F-Bay Salami! That was another banger episode for the collection. I know I sound like a broken record when I keep saying these episodes are great, but that's because Dana and her team keep breaking records. I do have my small nitpick of the story kind of just meandering at Hexside for most of the episode, but honestly, I don't know which one I like more, thanks to them or For the Future. Because thanks to them, story was better paced, but it was lacking in the character development outside of Luce, Hunter, and Camilla. However, what For the Future lacks in its pacing, it more than makes up for it in the character development department. Every single main character gets some form of development, even some side characters I wasn't expecting. And honestly, it makes sense that they want to do this, so the final episode can just be the climax and the resolution to that. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I really like how all the character arcs are at the moment. I think every one of our main characters is at a good point of their arc right now. And I think anyone can agree on that, as long as you're not stupid. Do I wish this all could have been a proper third season? Obviously. But we can't always have nice things, and I think it's about time we just accept that. But in the end, I'm excited to see where this all goes, and I think you should be too. Of course, I once again highly recommend this episode, though not as a starting episode for people who haven't seen the show, as once again, it's part of the finale. But for those of us who are fans, I think we can all agree we cannot wait to see how it all ends. So, welcome to the final hiatus of the Owl House, and I'll see you all again with the next episode in April. But until then, I wish you all good night.